Well, we're back here in the House of Commons today for another week, and of course another question period and another attack on the Environment Minister, Rona Ambrose. Now, the critics are really saying that the Clean Air Act brought in by the Harper administration is not a climate change strategy. In fact, they're saying it's a minimal amount that accomplishes long-term goals that'll have no real impact at all on this issue of global warming. Now, the minister, for her part, says, listen, clean air is clean air. And if you have clean air, you have less smog. If you have less smog, you have fewer emissions that cause greenhouse gases. So actually, we're on the right path. Well, I can tell you, I've received millions, well, thousands of emails over the last couple of weeks. And a lot of those have had to do with environmental policy. People, in my view, especially in my riding, are very, very concerned right now about the environmental strategy, and they're very concerned that the government right now is going way too slow on this whole thing. Right or wrong, fact or fiction, I'm not sure. But we're going to talk over the next few days. We're going to try and get some people here who know what they're talking about. And we thought we'd start right now with the environment critic for the Liberals. His name is John Godfrey. He's going to be coming out in a minute. We're going to ask him exactly, specifically, what is wrong with this act, what needs to be changed, and what do we have to do to get serious about climate change. Hang on, he'll be here in a minute. All right, folks, as promised, we're going to talk about the Clean Air Act. I've got here John Godfrey, the environment critic from the Liberal Party. John, we've had a lot of criticism from Rona Ambrose as being that she doesn't get it. Do you think she gets it, or what?
I think the answer is that maybe she gets it personally, but she's not allowed to get it collectively. The Conservative team is not allowed to get it because the Prime Minister's office does not want it to be got. And therefore, we've got a Clean Air Act which does nothing to strengthen our ability to regulate either greenhouse gases or dirty air. It simply weakens our ability, and we have a perfectly good bill called the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, which is without any ambiguity, has all the force that's necessary to regulate. And indeed, the minister says, until we pass her new bill, she'll continue to use the old act because it'll do just fine.
All right, so what specifically should she have done, and what specifically do you think Canadians were looking for in terms of a climate change strategy? We've abandoned Kyoto, right? And it's gone. So don't we need something to replace it specifically?
Well, that's what the commissioner...
Measurable targets?
We need measurable targets. I don't think we cannot abandon the Kyoto process. It's the only international process in town. This is a global phenomenon. Secondly, we can't go on consulting business and everybody else for the next 4 years before deciding what regulations are. Thirdly, we have to make a serious effort before 2050 to reduce absolutely greenhouse gases. None of those things are present in the Clean Air Plan.
John, every time I write about climate change on this website, I get attacked by all kinds of guys from Alberta who say it's all junk science. And yet today we had the report out of the UK saying $7 trillion worth of damage to the economy if we don't address this. Who's telling the truth?
The answer is, as Al Gore says, that if you actually examine the serious people who talk about this, 99% are on the same page. It's only in the media that there is a 50-50 dispute. There is not a matching group of serious scientists or economists who poo-poo this. But there are lots of people who are out there with a vested interest to manufacture confusion, and some of them are funded indeed by big oil because they have every interest in doing so. So the science is clear, the economics are clear as of today. People like you and me have to go with proxy. We have to go with people that make sense to us as lay people. You know, we're not experts in these matters. So we have to go with what seems like common sense. And common sense tells me that when you get 95% of the scientific community agreeing about something, they're probably right.
Okay, lastly, you're the Environment Minister. What would you do now?
I would bring in an integrated plan for climate change, which would deal with all sectors of the economy. We don't need a new act. I'd bring in the regulations as quickly as possible, but I'd also turn it into an economic opportunity. I'm convinced that we can make money through alternative energy, or by saving energy, and by being an awful lot clever about this stuff. And who wants to waste money paying furnace bills or paying for electrical bills if you could pay a lot less?
Do you think that the Harper guys are too much influenced by the oil sands and the economic development in the West? Do you think that's clouded the vision?
I think it's
or not?
The politics of the West, and particularly Alberta, which are standing in the way of Conservatives' understanding, and I think it's the ideology of the Prime Minister, Stephen Harper.
All right. Thank you very much, John Godfrey, Environment Minister with the Liberals. Thank you very much. MPtv will be back tomorrow with more.